The reason you feel paralyzed and unable to start big goals isn't burnout. It's a hidden, powerful psychological trap that turns failure into surrender. Now, for way too long, you've probably mistaken this feeling for some kind of personal failing, a lack of willpower, or maybe you're just not ambitious enough. But the truth is, you're dealing with a cognitive habit, a thought pattern that has quietly, sneakily disconnected your effort from your belief that you can actually succeed. In this explainer, we are going to expose that trap for what it is, and more importantly, we're going to give you the precise three-part system to dismantle it piece by piece and get back the ambition you thought you'd lost for good.
Just let that idea sink in for a second. That feeling of being completely stuck, it's not a reflection of your potential. It's a symptom of a psychological condition. And look, the science is crystal clear on this. You haven't lost your drive. You've simply learned to be helpless. It's almost like a defense mechanism your brain adopted after getting knocked down too many times. But here's the promise we're making today. We're going to show you 3 specific cognitive interventions designed to shatter this trap. This isn't about just thinking positive. It's about thinking strategically. This is how you start to reclaim your ambition, like right now.
So let's just reframe this whole problem. What if that feeling of being stuck, that heavy weight that keeps you from starting, isn't some fundamental flaw in your character? What if it's just a faulty piece of mental software you've kind of unintentionally installed over the years? A bit of code that runs automatically in the background telling you, don't even bother trying. Because here's the thing, if a behavior is learned, that means it can be unlearned. It can be overwritten with a better, more powerful operating system. And that's exactly the system we're going to map out today.
So here's our game plan, from diagnosis straight to cure. First, we'll unpack the paralysis paradox to really get what's going on. Then, we'll get to the root cause with the diagnosis of surrender. After that, we unveil the 3-part cognitive cure. That's the core system. We'll dive into the science of re-engagement to see why this stuff actually works on your brain before giving you a concrete, non-negotiable action plan. And we'll wrap up with a huge mindset shift. Power is not a feeling, it's a skill you build.
Okay, let's kick things off with the paradox itself. That strange, super frustrating conflict happening inside your head when you want to act, you know you should act, but you feel completely frozen. It's that sinking feeling that no matter how much effort you pour in, the outcome is just going to be the same old story. It's that moment your ambition and your inaction go to war, and for some reason, inaction always seems to win, leaving you just exhausted and defeated before you've even started.
The official term for this is learned helplessness, and the 2 most important words there are cognitive error. This is not a personality trait. It's not who you are. It's a bug in your brain's prediction machine. See, after you experience setbacks you can't control, your brain does what it's designed to do. It learns. But in this case, it learns the wrong lesson. It overcorrects. It writes this new, faulty line of code that says effort equals 0 reward. And that rule just runs in the background of your mind, quietly killing your motivation before you even consciously decide to get going.
So how does this cognitive error actually take root and become so darn powerful? Let's get into the diagnosis, because understanding the mechanism is the first step to taking it apart. It's not just about what happens to you, it's about the story your mind tells you about what happens. That internal narrative, the explanation you give yourself for why you failed, that's the invisible force driving this whole feeling of surrender.
On the left, we've got the anatomy of the helplessness mindset. Psychologists call this a negative attributional style. So when something goes wrong, this mindset processes it in 3 really toxic ways. First, it makes it internal. You think, this is my fault. I am the problem. See the self-blame? Second, it makes it global. The thought becomes, I fail at everything. One little failure suddenly defines your entire life. And third, it makes it stable. You conclude, it's always going to be this way. I will always fail. See how one single event just became a permanent life sentence? Now look at the right, the empowered mindset. The exact same event happens, but it's processed totally differently. It's seen as external. The circumstances were tough. It's seen as specific. Okay, this one approach didn't work. And it's seen as temporary. I can try again differently. Same event. The explanation creates 2 completely different worlds.
And the result of that negative mindset? Well, it's devastating. Crippling decision paralysis. I mean, why would you even start a new project if you've already decided you're going to fail at everything always? Your brain's logic becomes brutally simple. Doing nothing is safer than guaranteed failure. And so all your valuable mental energy that should be going towards strategy and problem solving, gets totally hijacked by rumination. It becomes this cognitive thief, just stealing your focus to endlessly replay past failures, reinforcing that negative story about yourself. It's a vicious, self-perpetuating loop of surrender.
Okay, so that was the diagnosis. Now, let's shift to the cure. And this isn't about some vague, think positive advice. This is a precise, three-part cognitive system designed to systematically dismantle learned helplessness and rebuild your sense of control from the ground up. We're moving from just understanding the problem to actively, finally, solving it. Here they are, the 3 pillars of the cure. First, we've got attributional retraining. This is where you actively learn to change the story you tell yourself after a setback. You basically become the editor of your own internal narrative. Second, mastery experiences. This is all about deliberately engineering small, even microscopic, undeniable wins. The goal is to prove to your brain, with hard evidence, that your effort does create results. And third, the control audit. This is a super powerful strategic tool for focusing your limited time and energy only on the things you can actually influence.
Let's break down what each one actually does. Think of attributional retraining as your personal linguistic defense system, like a firewall you install in your mind to block those toxic automatic negative stories. Mastery experiences, well, they're the physical proof. They are designed to methodically find and rebuild that broken neural connection between action and reward in your brain. And finally, the control audit is your strategic filter. It's the tool that stops you from wasting precious energy on things you can't change and forces you to put 100% of your focus on what you can.
Now, this system isn't just a collection of nice ideas. It's grounded in hard science. It works because it actually leverages your brain's own chemistry and structure to create real change. So let's look at the specific ways these interventions physically rewire your brain's response to challenges and really understand why the system is so effective. So, why does this system work so well on a biological level? First, it re-engages what psychologists call self-efficacy, which is really just your belief in your own ability to succeed. Every tiny mastery experience, even just 1 minute of focused work, releases a small hit of dopamine. That's the neurotransmitter for motivation and reward. This creates this awesome positive feedback loop. The win feels good, which makes it neurologically easier to start the next thing. Second, it strengthens your prefrontal cortex, or PFC. Think of the PFC as the logical, rational CEO of your brain. By using attributional retraining to analyze setbacks, you're engaging that part of your brain. This in turn quiets down the panicked emotional response from your limbic system and actually reduces the stress hormone cortisol. You're literally calming your brain down with logic. And all of this leads to the third most powerful outcome, an anti-fragile mindset. Instead of being broken by setbacks, you actually start to get stronger from them. Failure stops being a verdict on your worth and becomes what it always should have been, just valuable data for your next attempt.
All right, we've talked about the what and the why. Now, for the most important part, the how. This is where theory becomes practice. We are shifting into a concrete, non-negotiable action plan you can start using the second this explainer is over. This is the work that changes everything. And I call these non-negotiables for a reason. These aren't just helpful tips or suggestions. They are the mandatory, structural actions you have to take to escape this trap. Think of them as drills for your mind. Just like an athlete trains their body, this is how you train your brain. This is the practical work that rebuilds your sense of agency, one action at a time. First tool is the CBA drill. The very next time you face a setback, big or small, you have to stop that negative spiral and analyze it with this framework. Let's say you missed an important deadline. Your old brain might scream, "I'm so disorganized." Your new brain runs the drill. First, what was controllable? My effort. I could have started planning a day earlier. Okay. Second, what was blockable? The obstacles. I can turn off my phone notifications next time. Good. And third, what was arbitrary? Circumstantial factors. My manager sent over a key file late. This drill forces your brain out of that toxic, internal, global stable trap and into a mode of practical, forward-looking problem solving. The second non-negotiable is the Daily Atomic Mastery Challenge. This is your secret weapon for rebuilding momentum from absolute zero. Your task is simple, but it is profoundly powerful. Find one small task you've been putting off. It could be sending one tough email, cleaning a single drawer, or reading just one page of a report. Now shrink it down to an atomic unit of effort, just 1 minute. Set a timer, do it for that single minute, and then stop. The goal isn't to finish the task. The goal is to secure one small, undeniable win. You are proving to your brain with physical evidence that action leads to progress. You're literally rewriting that faulty code. And the third and final tool is the Controllable Map Audit. This is for your biggest, most overwhelming challenges. Grab a piece of paper and draw a line right down the middle. Now, look at the left side of the screen.
In this column, you are going to list every single aspect of your challenge that is completely uncontrollable. Past mistakes, what other people think, the economy, pure luck. Just get it all out. Now, shift your focus to the right side. Here, you'll list everything that is 100% controllable. Your effort today, your planning, how you use your time, how you respond to new problems. Now you make a deal with yourself. You will dedicate 100% of your mental energy and focus only to the items on the right side of that page. This audit doesn't just give you clarity, it gives you permission to let go of everything else.
Now we come to the final, and maybe the most important reframing of this entire idea. We tend to think of power or control as a feeling we either have or we don't. We wait to feel powerful before we take action. But the science shows us something profoundly different, and honestly, a lot more hopeful. If you take one thing away from our time together, let it be this. Your feeling of powerlessness is a learned illusion, not a fixed reality. It's a cognitive distortion that feels incredibly real, I know, but it is built on a foundation of faulty explanations and misinterpreted evidence. And because it was learned, it can be unlearned. It can be dismantled. Ultimately, your sense of personal control isn't some random emotional state. It is the direct, predictable result of the system you're using to interpret failure and organize your effort. A faulty system, one that defaults to self-blame and inaction, is always going to lead to a feeling of powerlessness. But an effective system, one where you consistently analyze, adapt, and focus on what you can control, will inevitably lead to a feeling of power.
This entire framework is designed to solve the problem of chronic passivity and that awful decision paralysis. And what matters here is that it provides a systematic way to rebuild the critical link between your effort and your results. By using attributional retraining, you actively challenge that passive mindset. With daily mastery experiences, you rebuild momentum and strengthen your self-efficacy, which fundamentally shifts your brain's default setting from emotional defeat to strategic, empowered problem solving.
So my challenge to you is this. Don't just absorb this information. Apply it. The moment you're done here, take out a piece of paper and start your controllable map audit for the biggest challenge in your life. Don't wait until you feel ready. This is not just an exercise, it is the first real, tangible step you can take to actively reclaim your ambition. Because in the end, just remember this. True productivity isn't about forcing yourself to do more through sheer willpower. It's about mastering systems that make focus, action, and progress the natural, almost effortless result